Hello guys, welcome back. So in the previous video, we have talked about the merge sort, right? So now we are going to implement the merge function in this particular video. Okay. So this is, I think, one of the longest part of the merge sort. So this is what we are going to do first, and then in the next lecture, we are going to finish it like with writing the merge sort implementation, right? So let's start writing a function. What it will basically do, it will get two arrays. We have to pass two arrays into it and then it will merge them. Okay. So it will sort them and then it will merge them. Okay. So let's start implementing it. Okay. So for that, I'll simply write a function, or let me just explain you like what that function is going to do. Then it will be easy for you guys like to understand whatever we are going to implement. Okay. So what that function will do, let's say we have two sorted arrays, right? 32, 34, 54, 64, right? And here, as you can see, these two arrays should be sorted. Like this one should be sorted and this one should be sorted. Then only the merge function which we are going to implement is going to work properly. Okay. Now what we are going to do? We are going to write two pointers, right? So I and let's say j. So let me write it here. I think we can do it. Okay, j. So it will be something like this, right? So we will compare I with j. I is greater than j? No. Then what we will do? We will create a new array and we will push the element which is there in j in that empty array. So 4 we will push here. And now we will move j by 1 like this. Okay. And then again we will compare if I is greater than j. No, j is still small. So what we will do? We'll again push j element into that empty array and then we will increment j by 1 again. Okay, and then we will compare I and j. So right now I is smaller, so what we will do, we will push I element into the array and then we will increment the index I by 1. Okay, so something like this. Okay, and then we don't have to push this one here. So now again we will compare I and j. So I is still small, so we will add 34 here again, and then what we will do, we will simply increment I by 1. Okay, and then here we have 54, which is again smaller than 445. Then what we will do, we will simply add 54 and then we will again increment I by 1, right? Now again I is smaller than 45, right? J value. So what we will do, we will simply push the I element. Now what we have to do, since I have hit the end of the array, right? And still there are some elements available in the J array, right? In the second array. So what we will do, we will simply pick rest of the elements from the J array and then we add them like this. Okay. So this is what we are going to do. This is what is the idea. Okay, and I hope by the explanation you guys understood like what we are going to do now. So let's quickly build it, right? So let me comment this one here because it was throwing error. Okay, and let me stretch it because this one we are not using right now. So let's quickly implement the merge function, merge arr, and then here we will be passing array 1 and array 2. Okay, so here what we have to do, we simply have to create one array first. Okay, const merged array and we are going to return it at the end. Okay, so this is the simple step which we have to do. Okay, now what we have to do is we have to run a while loop. I'll go with while loop because this is the easiest way in which I can explain you the things like how we are going to implement it, right? So if you have better solution, then you can implement it that way, and make sure like you add it in the comments as well so that other developers can also see that, right? So let's write a while loop and then I will run this while loop for two pointers, right? So let's create one variable I and I'll set it to 0 initially, and same I'll do with j and let's set it to 0, right? So now what I'll do, I'll run the while loop if I is smaller than array 1 dot length and j is smaller than array 2 dot length, right? So what does that mean is, I just want to run this while loop only if I and j have, I like this array and this array have some data where we can loop through it, right? So if we are getting the value of I which is greater than the array dot length, then simply we won't get any element, right? Then in that case we don't want to run any loop, right? So that is why we are just looping, we are just running this loop if the I is smaller than array 1 dot length and j is smaller than array 2 dot length. It's basic while loop condition. So I hope you guys might have understood. Okay, now let's write our logic. So the logic is straightforward only. Okay, so what I will do here, if I'll write an if case. Okay, so if array 1 at position I, okay, if it is greater than array 2 at position j, then what we have to do, I think by now you know already, right? So we simply have to push the smallest element into the array. So right now array 2 is smaller, right? So what we have to do, we have to push array 2, okay, and then we have to increment the index of array 2 by 1. Okay, so here as you might have seen, like if this element and this element was smaller, so we were pushing this element, okay, and then we were incrementing the j index by 1. So same thing we are doing here, and then we will write an else case. So here what we will do, we will simply push the array 1 element, okay, at position I. So if array, there can be three cases, right? See, if array 1's element can be greater than array 2's element, so in that case array 2 element we are pushing into the array. Second case, if array 1 element is smaller than array 2 element, then array first element we are going to push into the array. Third case, if array 1 element is greater or equals to array 2 element, right? In that case, what we will do, we'll simply push array 1 or array 2, anything we want, right? So that is why I wrote an else case here and here, or let's just make it straightforward. I think I wrote it, it's correct only, but it will be quite confusing for you guys, I think. So let's go with I and j first. Okay, so now if array at position I is smaller than array at position j, so what we will do, array at position I we are going to add here, and then we will increment I by 1. Okay, so it's just the same thing, I'm just changing it a little bit. Okay, otherwise what we will do, array 2 we are going to push in the new array, right, and then j plus plus. So this else case will handle like array 1 equals to array 2, and then array 1 is greater than array 2. Okay, so this is what it is going to do, right? So now this thing is like almost we can say done. So let's quickly see whether it is working so far or not. Okay, so merge array, and then here we have to pass two arrays, right? Let's pass these two arrays itself. Okay, and I don't know why it's wrapped into the brackets. Okay, so that is because of VS Code. So let's quickly, I think I have to add the comma here. Okay, so let's quickly pick these two and then let's pass it here. So now as you can see, we are getting 4, 9, 32, 34, 54, 65. Okay, that means the first array hit the end, right? But there is still one thing which is left. When we hit any one array at the end, then we have to pick all the elements of the second array, like all the rest of the elements from the second array, and we have to add those at the end, right? So this is the part which is left right now. Okay, so we are already almost done. We are picking the smaller number and we are pushing it accordingly. Okay, and now let's quickly implement that part as well. Okay, so for that I'll simply run two while loops. You can run for loops, doesn't matter at all, because we are going to get the sorted arrays, right, to arrange the elements in their correct position. Okay, so let's write that while I is smaller than arr1 dot length. Okay, so here we are considering if I still not hit the end. Okay, so I still in somewhere in middle. Okay, so In this case, what we will do, we'll simply copy this code and we will paste it here. Okay, now again we'll write a while loop where we are going to check the same thing with the second array, right? So here we will make it j, array 1 to array 2, okay, and then here also, or we'll just copy this thing, right? So let's just copy and let's paste it. It's zoomed enough, right guys? You guys can see it. Yeah, it's zoomed enough. Okay, so now we are done with the implementation. Okay, so now what will happen? If I is greater than array dot length or equals to also array dot length, or j is equals to also array dot length, then what will happen? It will not even go into this while loop. It will check these two conditions, right? So if any of these condition doesn't match, like they are not, these while loops are not gonna run. Okay, they are only gonna run if their particular conditions are going to match. Okay, that's simple while loop, guys, right? So yeah, now let's see if our function is working fine or not. So as you can see, now we are getting 4, 9, 32, 34, 54, 65, 45, 676. That means we are getting these two elements as well, which got added at the end. Okay, so this is because it didn't went into this while loop. So after executing this while loop, it checked I is already equals to array dot length, or we can say this condition is not satisfying. So j haven't even hit the end of the array. That means j is still in somewhere in middle. So it was somewhere here, or here we can say 45, right? So what we have done, till the time j is in the middle, we are pushing that element over and over again into the array, and we are incrementing the value of j by 1. So if j was here, then we are pushing this element into the array, this one, and then we are incrementing the j by 1. So j will go here, we'll push this element into the array. Now we'll increment the value of j, and then now j will be somewhere here, which will be equals to like array dot length. So this value will also stop executing, and then at the end we are returning our array. So now let's see how it goes with the empty array, and a few elements are there. Okay, so let's see, we have an empty array and then we have 4, 9, 45. Okay, so let's make it this, and now again it is working fine only. So now let's see one more scenario where we have 4, right, and then let's say 5. Okay, so as you can see, for every scenario it is working just fine. 4, 4, 5 and then 9, right? So that means our merge function is ready now. So if you guys want, I'll attach this this snippet in the description. You can check the description and you can get this snippet. And now in the next lecture, let's quickly finish it by completing the merge sort, because we are almost done with our merge sort, because we have already implemented half of the thing in the merge sort algorithm, right? All we need to do is we just need to get a giant array. We have to split it in half every time. Okay, and for that I am going to use recursion. So if you are not aware of recursion, if you have never learned about recursion in your past, then make sure you are ready with the recursion video. You have watched already the recursion video. Okay, so once you are ready with the recursion, let's jump into the next lecture where we are going to finish the implementation of merge sort. Okay, so yeah, this is it for this lecture. See you in the next one.